Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crickbog podcast, our first episode after Australia officially eliminated from the T20 World Cup. So much drama, so much going on over the last couple of days, severe cramps just by standing at slip and then running like Usain Bolt afterwards. But I will say, as an Aussie fan, that had nothing to do with our exit, and we'll touch on that in this episode, as well as look forward to the semi-finals and the final as well. Nash, back from the US alongside me here. Nash, how's things?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty happy with the way
You
things
must
have
be
gone
happy.
for India.
Yep,
And
and
yeah, I
Australia too,
mean,
I'm sure.
well, to be honest, I always support Australia as my second team, so it's a bit disappointing. But as you said, they only had themselves to blame. They can't put it on a cramp. They can't put it on weather. They can't put it on England. They can't really put it on anyone else. And
Mm.
yeah, I've seen some stories flying around from Aussie players and being crybabies as usual. But yeah, it's
As usual. Which players? Zampa?
yeah.
I think it was just a bit of a joke.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a fun World Cup to watch. It's been an exciting World Cup to watch, especially with Afghanistan flying into the
Yeah.
well, not quite flying, but they've gone into the semi-finals on the back of some really good performances. And we'll talk
Mm.
about them more in this episode. And my first question to you is, let's start with Australia. And
Mm.
where do you think things went downhill?
The toss against Afghanistan, for sure. Sort of Sunday morning. Uh, was out with the family in the morning. 10:30, just after 10:30, had a look at what was going on. What did we end up doing? And saw that we decided to field. And I tweeted about it pretty quickly. And I said this was a big surprise for me that Australia would do that against an Afghanistan team that you and I both know that love to set scores. They love
Yep.
to defend totals. They're not a good
Yep.
chasing team,
Yep.
right? And then at Kingstown as well, which is up there with New York as the most difficult batting ground in this World Cup. Teams are batting first at that ground and winning those games. So to chase was you're walking into the fire and hoping you don't get burnt. That's the way I looked at it. And from there, well, we didn't get the early wicket. The panic set in. The fielding mishaps. I mean, even in the India game, the fielding was just shocking. I mean, I know that teams don't have a lot of time to train between games, but it's no excuse. Everyone's in the same boat at the moment.
Yep.
Our fielding was disgraceful. We had 70% catch rate, lots of misfields. And then Afghanistan got a very good score. You know, people thought they were a bit short. No, that looked like a very, very good score in that game, 148 on that pitch. And Australia collapsed badly. And from there, we were always up against it. When you look at India, the form that they're in, you have to beat them. And if you don't, you're relying on Bangladesh, who don't bat well, to beat Afghanistan. So that's where it really went wrong for me. I think those couple of things where I thought our planning wasn't great and our fielding was really, really poor.
Yep. And do you think Australia have missed a trick there by only having Zampa as the lead spinner in the team?
Well, the thing is, they picked Agar in that game
Yep.
against Afghanistan. They didn't pick Stark. That's the one I thought they missed the trick, because the two Afghanistan openers can have their issues against left arm seam.
Yep.
So again, the preparation, you didn't quite do your homework on that. But they picked Agar in that game and still thought they would bowl first. They knew that pitch would turn. They knew that pitch was difficult to play on, and yet they still bowled first and they picked Agar. In the game against India, I don't know who you would have dropped for Agar, to be honest. Hazelwood was amazing in that game. You had to
He
pick
was.
Stark back in the team. And Cummins was just off the back of 2 hat tricks. So
And
what do you do there?
yeah, and look, Hazelwood has been amazing all throughout, isn't it? Isn't he? Like he's
Yeah,
been he's
very
been
solid.
holding up one end, and he's been, being economical. Maybe he hasn't got the wickets that Australia would have wished
Mm,
for, but again, the reason that the ballers from the other end can do that is because Hazelwood from one end has that ability to be
100%.
economical and not give anything away.
Amazing. Yeah, the consistency. I thought even in the India game, all that carnage, Rohit Sharma was tearing us to shreds, and Hazelwood, 14 off his 4 overs, and everyone else took a beating. So, yeah, huge credit to him. Yeah, disappointed we're out. Like, because there was an opportunity here. You get to the final four, and you never know what can happen. You never know what can happen, and then you get into a final potentially, and you have a shot at another piece of silverware to add in the cabinet. Yeah, we just let it slip there. Really did.
So let's talk about the other teams in the World Cup. England have somehow managed to scrap through to the semi-finals again. And at one point, it looked like they were down and out, relying on Scotland to, relying on Australia to beat Scotland and stuff like that. And it's been,
Hazelwood shouldn't have said anything.
uh,
I
it's
know he
been,
was mucking around.
it's
I
been
know
a,
it was a piss take, but I have a theory on it.
it's
I
been a
think if he didn't say anything, we probably would have lost.
Yeah, it's been a great time on social media for a while since
Yeah,
that has happened, and it's been
yeah,
so fun to watch all the meltdown from either side, from Australia and from England. I think everyone, all the players know it's just banter, but the fans don't, and fans take it to heart from both sides, from
yeah,
any country, to be honest. And it's been really
yeah.
interesting. You know, England
Mm,
beat USA, who themselves have had a brilliant tournament by their
yes.
standards, and they beat USA by 10 wickets, and they've come into the semifinals with brilliant form and
Mm,
brilliant all around form. So it's
mm,
again, here we are with the 2022 semifinalists, India and England. And it'll be interesting to see how India approach this time, because India have been in red hot form as well. So their
yes.
their bowling has been brilliant, with Jasprit Bumrah
Mm,
leading and Kuldeep Yadav coming into the mix as well. So with batting, Rohit
yes.
Sharma firing at the top, Rishabh Pant has played some good cameos, and Surya back into form as well. So with Hardik Pandya, obviously the clutchest of all players, it's going to be interesting. Give me your thoughts on where things go from here for England and India.
Yeah, I'd like to get your thoughts as well on India, but I think now is the crunch time for India. They've got no problem winning World Cup games. They've done it for years, winning World Cup games. It's about the knockouts.
Yeah.
That's where India have fallen short last year, the year before that, etc., etc. So can they play with the same fearlessness? They did so in last year's semi-final in the One Day World Cup, and then we saw what happened in the final. That's going to be the big challenge. If they do get on the field, I don't know if it's going to rain cats and dogs in Guyana in the semi. But yeah, that's going to be the big thing for India. For England, I thought their performance against West Indies in the Super Eights was a big reason why they had that momentum and they could make the semi-finals from there. That was very impressive. That was a crunch game at the start, and they smashed them with ease. And then they should have won against South Africa, I think. And then too good for the USA, of course. But just a question for you. How are you feeling ahead of the knockouts? Do you think this one will be different from an Indian perspective, or
I am
do you think
positive.
you might
Look,
see the
honestly, I
same
am.
scars?
I'm a bit positive this time around, given how things have gone from a bowling perspective, especially. It's funny,
Mm.
as an Indian fan, I'm banking on the bowling more than the batting. So, um,
Especially with Kohli in this form, what's going on?
exactly. Oh, well, I'm not too bothered, to be honest. I think
Yeah,
he's
you
he's
wouldn't change because that's
nah.
been like
Well,
like
maybe
topics put into three.
I've always maintained my stance that Kohli should open, no matter
Yeah,
what. And maybe things haven't worked out, but I'll still back him to open with Rohit Sharma, and maybe keep Pant at 3. But if they want to change that and put Pant as the opener, then that's fine as well, and put Kohli back at his old position at number 3. So it's really, to be honest, I don't think it matters a lot. It's just that Kohli, it's a law of averages for me for Kohli. I think he's been magnificent over the years for India in this
mm,
format, or in all tournaments, in World Cups, in bilaterals, any tournament, any matches he has played in T20s has been brilliant. And if he has to be carried to a World Cup win by the other teammates, I think so be it. He deserves it, to be honest. He's
mm,
been on it like a hawk all the time. So I mean, yeah, I'm not too bothered. But as we have gone, played each game in this World Cup, my
mm,
my belief in the bowlers have sort of increased, and that has been really good to see. I always think, yes, Indian batting sometimes maybe shaken up a bit. But I always think to myself, okay, don't worry, we have Bumrah. We have Bumrah. Don't worry
Yes.
about it. We have Kuldeep
Yes.
as well now. So Kuldeep
Yeah.
has been brilliant, and the pitches in the Caribbean will suit him to some extent as well. So it's going to be a
Yeah.
really interesting game against England. And it's going to be really fun to watch how Josh Butler and Phil Salt
Yeah.
and all these players, what tricks do they have up their sleeve against
Mm.
Bumrah and the likes. So it's going to be a fun watch.
Agree about Bumrah. Sort of, I was very relieved in that India-Australia game that Australia restricted India to 205. Thought it could have been a lot more at one point. Then I thought, yeah, I think we're just going to fall short because of the spinners, Kuldeep and Jasprit Bumrah factor. Very, very hard to get him away. Um, but yeah, onto Virat Kohli. I personally wouldn't change anything at this point. I'd keep him as opener and back him. It, by his standards, been woeful in this World Cup,
Yep.
and maybe just a bit fidgety at the start. Wants to get that early boundary. Very uncharacteristic. Particularly how loose he's been on off stump. I feel that when he's at his best, he's very, very solid there.
Mm.
But you back him. You back him. If he now delivers in the knockout games, um, that's what India will want. Because the thing is for India, as I said, it's about getting over the line in the knockouts. It's about getting over the line in the big crunch games at the back end of the tournament.
Yeah.
And Kohli can be that player to do it for you. I wouldn't change.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change when it comes to knockouts.
Well, looking at our predictions from before the World Cup began, I think the semi-finalists, we had India, England, Australia, and South Africa. So we have got three right. We've just
I didn't have Australia in mind. I
oh,
had
sorry,
West
yeah,
Indies and
you
New
didn't.
Zealand in
Yeah, you
mind.
did
And
have.
they're both. Yeah, I didn't have Australia. I thought Australia would miss, but I thought West Indies would be better. And I thought New Zealand would be better. They were very disappointing as well. But Afghanistan have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Good on them.
absolutely. And speaking about West Indies, I think, and even Afghanistan, the one thing I wanted to highlight about this World Cup is, we blame the format, we blame the scheduling, and all these things that you have to do because of the broadcast timings and revenue and stuff. But up until the last match of the group stage of the earlier groups, then the Super 8 groups, up until the last match, we had everything to play for, and that's been absolutely fantastic to watch. Even
Mm.
yesterday
Yeah,
when
yeah, yeah.
Bangladesh played
Yeah,
Afghanistan, or West
yeah,
Indies played South Africa, it's been absolutely
yeah,
brilliant to watch up until the last ball. No, we did not know one of the teams in the semifinals yet, and it's been such a good tournament to watch, and this is what the 20 team tournament brings. This is
yeah.
what this format brings, and which has been really good. So credit to the organizers, credit to the management, and can't wait to see what the knockouts hold for us.
Yep. I think some of the finishes have been amazing. There's been some thrilling storylines. The West Indies South Africa game was awesome. South Africa winning another close game.
Yeah.
They'll be confident. That was a real crunch game for them. If they can go into that semi-final, win that, who knows what they can do in the final? They've just won every game close. It's incredible. But I think there's still some room for improvement in the overall format and the overall timings. I mean, games don't finish there till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
and then the team's got to travel the next day and then play a morning game the day after. That can be fixed. Uh, you know, maybe find a way to take points from the group stage into the Super 8s. Not all the points.
Yep.
Maybe you take the points and the net run rate from the game you had against a fellow qualifier from your group. So, for example, India beat the USA. India will take the points that they got from the USA game. Australia beat England. Just so there's a bit of a connection between the first stage and the second stage, because the second stage is a brand new competition. Whatever you've done in the previous group does not matter, which I think in a tournament, you should still have that connection, especially if you've got pre-tournament seedings. It's like a brand new tournament.
Yeah.
So take the points you got from your fellow qualifier, the other team that qualified, take those points. It's like a reward for winning that game, which adds more importance to it, adds more context to it.
Makes sense. Yep, makes sense.
That's something you can do there because, I just think, going to the Super 8s is a brand new competition that can be changed. And just stuff around, timings. I understand the challenges and you want to try get, the Indian audience and the Asian audience is the majority. I understand that. You also got to try work a way around ensuring that, no teams are too disadvantaged with timings in the games.
Yep, absolutely. And well, before we round up for today, the second semi-final, Afghanistan and South Africa, where do you think
Can't wait for that one.
the strengths lie for each team, and where are the weaknesses for each team?
Yeah, I think for Afghanistan, the strength is if they can set a total, as I said before, that they get the chance to bat first. That opening combination that they've got, it's prolific. 100 partnerships and a half century partnership against Bangladesh. That'll put South Africa on the back foot. And, with South Africa chasing, we saw the issues they had chasing against West Indies. It looked like a very easy chase, and they sort of stopped playing for a bit.
Yeah.
And then they allowed it to get so close for no reason. If they do that against Afghanistan, we all know Afghanistan have got the bowling attack.
But do you think against South Africa, a target of 120 would do, or would they need to sort of that opening
depends on the conditions.
Always plays good, but they sort of play a bit slow on the slower side.
Depends on the conditions. So Afghanistan have played on the difficult Kingstown pitch. That's not going to be one where you're going to blast fours and sixes.
Yeah.
So they played the right way, particularly against Australia. Ran hard between the wickets, turns ones into twos. Depends on the conditions in the semi-final, how the pitch plays. If it's a good pitch, then you got to go a little bit harder. And then I think a bit of a weakness potentially for Afghanistan is that middle order. Hasn't really been exposed in this World Cup. They've lost a lot of wickets quickly. That being said, the openers have done a lot of the scoring. So if South Africa can get into that middle order as soon as possible, they can make inroads.
Yeah.
And South Africa's spin attack and pace attack is very, very strong.
From a South African point of view, we saw Markram bringing himself on early on against the West Indies, and that proved to be that proved to be the big difference in the way West Indies approach their batting. Well,
as a captain, when you can get 4 overs out of yourself or any bowler who you wouldn't expect to get 4 overs out of, all of a sudden you've got the rest of your bowling attack for the rest of the overs.
Yep.
It's a huge advantage to have.
Absolutely. And that's the way, I think that's the key to see how Afghanistan target that, because if they could only sort of keep Markram or part-timer to maybe 2 overs and get a few runs of those, I think that really puts pressure on the other bowlers to step up and
I wonder if Markram will bowl though, because they've got majority right-handers, Afghanistan. So I'm not sure if he'll bowl as much, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, because you got Shamsi there as well, you got Maharaj as well, so it'll be really interesting to see how Markram uses all of his spinners. all of his spinners. So with obviously Rabada there as well, and Nokia and Jansen as well. So it's all in all an exciting contest. And from a batting point of view for South Africa, it'll be really key how Klaasen attacks the spinners and plays the spinners. So with Afghanistan, they have to be on the money all the time. They cannot give any freebies. They cannot be complacent at all in the field and with the bowling. So it's from an Afghanistan point of view, they will be putting all their heart out, and they'll be really listening to those tactics from Bravo and Trott in the dressing room.
Slow the game down. Go down with cramp.
That was brilliant. That was so brilliant.
Oh, mate, yesterday I
loved it.
I came out of my room where I was watching it, and my wife asked me, "Have you been crying?" I said, "No, I was crying, but laughter."
Yeah, that was absolutely. I've never seen that, but I think it goes to show the inexperience that these guys have, and I think it's just any other team would have just set the field or called for water,
set the field or a shoelace. Yeah,
exactly. But he just goes down like a pack of cards, like a house of cards, and it's just so fun. I think it's brilliant.
Mate, it was hilarious. Listen, do you want to see it on? Is it a good look? No, it isn't. But man, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's just bloody hilarious.
I think it's all in good player there. I think
it is. It didn't affect the result. Whatever Fox Cricket say, it did not affect the result, right? Australia.
Well, we could sit here and talk all day about what Fox Cricket thinks, and nothing positive will come out of it. So yeah.
No. Look, we need some reasonable analysis, and the thing is, Australia have only themselves to blame, as I said before. Fascinating semi-finals coming up. Just before we finish, what are we thinking? Predictions? I'll probably go. I mean, it depends who bats first in the Afghanistan-South Africa game. I think if Afghanistan need to chase, I don't know. And same with South Africa. I don't know either. I think it's a team that bats first and sets the score. I think we'll go on and win that game.
Well,
Although I think South Africa will start favourites.
At the start, I went India, England, Australia, and South Africa for the semi-finals, and then India and
Yeah.
Australia for the finals. So Afghanistan have replaced Australia in my
They have.
books. So I'll go with India versus Afghanistan for the finals now.
Wow. You stick with it?
Yep.
Wow. Be fascinating. That'd be awesome because, yeah, one of Afghanistan and South Africa have a shot at a first World Cup title.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll go. Look, if they hopefully get a game in the India-England contest, I'll go with India. I think India will really look to avenge what happened in 2022. They'll be very, very motivated to do that. And England have just beaten the one full member nation so far in this World Cup.
Yeah.
Here they are in the semis. So let's see how England go against a good team, an experienced team. And then I'll go South Africa in the other one. But just.
So India versus South Africa for the final. That'll be interesting.
I think so. But I will say the second game, I reckon the team batting first wins. Whoever it is, they'll win the game. But I'll go South Africa favourites if I had to pick before the game.
Absolutely.
Really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Nash. Thanks to all the listeners, to the viewers. Subscribe to the Crickblog podcast on YouTube, Crickblog TV. Follow us on the socials. You'll see some reels on X and Instagram, Crickblog Pod. Good luck to the remaining 4 teams. I wish Australia were there, but hey, look, you can't win them all. The trophy cabinet is still looking pretty good. So everyone else still has some catching up to do. Don't forget. Don't forget. Thanks, Nash. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.